What is up, YouTube? My name is Trinity and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. Today we are going to be continuing our new series of talking about a cryptid from each state in the US. So two things I want to cover real quick that I don't remember if I got to in the last video. One, a lot of these creatures can be from multiple different states just because they're more of a regional thing. So if I do one that seems more fitting for another, that's the reason. They're likely legends that are believed just within that area in general. And second, if I pick one that seems kind of out there or there's not a lot of information for it, it's just because I don't want to go with the obvious choices every time. And a lot of states just have different variations of Bigfoot or lake monsters. And I want to try to keep it as diverse and interesting as possible. So if a state doesn't have a lot of information to go off of, I'm not trying to snub that state or anything. It's just the most interesting one I could find. The next one we're going to be talking about is the Colorado Slide Rock Bolter. So from the little bit of information I could gather, the shape of it kind of reminds me of maybe a tadpole, and it had very small eyes but a very large head and a very wide gaping mouth, kind of like a sculpin. Though instead of its back end more resembling a tadpole, it had the fluke of a dolphin, and then fins or whatever, it had like grab hooks, I assume in order to climb up the rocky ledges of the mountains. I imagine this probably has something to do with like rock slides in the mountains. And if a lumberjack or somebody else working out there saw something like this, it was probably just rocks or other debris sliding down the mountain, but it was also an indication of a rock slide coming. Next, we're going to be talking about the Connecticut glaucus. Now, this is a very weird creature with an even weirder name. So the name essentially breaks down into Gla, which is for Glastonbury, which is where this creature was last seen, and Walk, which is supposed to be like wacky. And then the us is typically how you end a scientific name. So this creature is said to be like a cross between a bear and like a mountain lion or just a regular lion. Sometimes it has a mane. It is also known as the northern devil cat. Though unlike a lot of cats or predators in general that rely heavily on their eyesight to hunt, it is apparently blind, though victims that look into the eyes of the creature are said to have their entire memories wiped. It is also said to have a terrifying scream comparable to the laughter of a hyena. It was last seen in Glastonbury in 1939, and it was blamed for the deaths and disappearances of a lot of cats, dogs, and livestock. Next is the Delaware fence rail dog. So stories and legends of black dogs are very common all over the world, and generally they're seen as an omen of death or bad fortune, and this kind of falls into that category. So this creature is said to wander around the area of Delaware Highway 12, also known as Mid-State Road. It is a very large creature, whatever it is. It's said to be about as tall as a rail fence, which is where I assume it gets its name, so it's about 4 feet at the shoulder, which is really fucking big, and 10 feet long from nose to tail. It's also said to have glowing red eyes. A non-aggressive creature, but it is very fast and very intelligent, easily able to keep up with cars zooming down the highway. Now, there's a couple of backstories and theories. I assume they would vary depending on where you live or who's telling the story. The first is that he is the spirit of a street outlaw that took his own life when cornered by police, and has therefore been cursed to wander the same stretch of road for eternity. Another story is that this is the spirit of an actual dog who was killed by the tenants of its owner's boarding house after they killed the owner and then chopped him up and fed it to the dog, and then executing it, and that it's wandering the earth now in order to avenge its owner. This last story, there may be more context to it that I just couldn't find in my research, but some say it is the ghost of a young enslaved boy who was murdered by his master and then dumped along where the highway is now. Next, we're going to be talking about the trident-tailed lake monster of Florida. So this creature follows the myths of a lot of lake and water monsters. It's said to have a very serpentine body with smooth gray skin, and it has a very thick body, wider around than the circumference of a telephone pole. It's said that it is up to 50 feet long, and despite its mass and its overall size, it is able to move at incredible speeds, propelling itself with its trident-shaped tails. The lake likely culprit behind this myth are manatees that have unfortunately had their tails mutilated by boat propellers, because it is a very common occurrence because manatees are not very fast moving and they're very docile, so coming into contact with people and boats in general is a very common occurrence, and this type of injury kind of lines up to what the trident tail would look like. And the last cryptid we are going to be talking about today is the Georgia Altamahaha, or Alti for short. Now, this creature is said to inhabit the streams and abandoned rice fields around southeast Georgia, specifically McIntosh County, surrounding the mouth of the Altamaha River. It's said to be about 30 feet long and move at speeds capable of creating wakes like motorboats. It is also said to have a sturgeon-like body with a bony ridge running along its back and front flippers but lacking back flippers. It's gray-green in coloration with the snout of an alligator, though its underbelly is more of a yellowish white. And it also swims like a dolphin, weirdly enough. Now, this legend apparently has roots in Muskogee legends, and the suspected true identity of this creature is the alligator gar, though with all of these different characteristics, I would imagine it could be a couple of different things. So that is going to be all of the creatures for today. Next video, we are going to be continuing with Hawaii. And I did want to let you guys know, if you do have suggestions for any upcoming states, please leave them down in the comments below, because while I do have some planned, I am definitely open to altering my list a little bit. Also, if you guys have anything for Montana, please let me know, because the only things I can find are either things I've already talked about, things that also apply to other states, or just creatures that don't have enough information and I don't want to have to skip an entire state. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like, and if you know any friends that may be interested in this video series or any of my other spooky content, be sure to send it their way. If you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you'll be notified anytime I upload. And finally, if you're enjoying the series, be sure to keep an eye on the playlist that I created specifically for this series so you can keep up to date with any installments in this series. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.